This is an aerial photograph of the scene where President Kennedy was assassinated. This is Elm Street, Main Street, and Houston Street. Starting at Main and Houston Streets, we will identify the buildings surrounding the scene. This is the Dallas County Jail, Courthouse, and Records Building. Across Elm Street is the Dow Tex Mart Building. Across Houston Street is the Texas School Book Depository Building. This is the Triple Underpass. This is the Post Office Terminal Annex Building. These buildings across Houston Street had been demolished at the time of the assassination, and steelwork was up to 13 floors for the new county courthouse and jail. This is the old county courthouse. The center area is Dealey Plaza. The motorcade came down Main Street to Houston Street and turned right to go over 1 block to Elm Street and turn left. This was necessary so the motorcade could get to the Stemmons Expressway entrance on the right side of Elm Street. There's a concrete curb between Main and Elm Streets which prohibits Main Street traffic from crossing Elm Street to get to the expressway entrance. The motorcade was in view of the assassin from the time it entered the Main and Houston Street intersection and remained in view until here, except for this area, when this tree blocked the view a few moments. 8mm movie film of the entire assassination was taken by Abraham Zapruder, who was standing here. Additional films were taken by Mary Muchmore, who was standing here, and Orville Nix, who was standing here. The Muchmore and Nix movies did not include the entire assassination. The president's car was in this position when he was shot in the neck, and in this position when he was shot in the head. The following scene is a panoramic view taken from this point. It starts facing the Main and Houston Streets intersection and continues counterclockwise for 360 degrees. In the foreground, you see part of the back of the Dealey Memorial. The first building is the Dallas County Jail and Courthouse. The white building is the County Records Building. Across Elm Street is the Dow Tex Mart Building. Across Houston Street is the Texas School Book Depository Building. The assassin used the window next to the top on the far right. Mr. Zapruder took the 8mm color movies of the assassination from the pavilion straight ahead. He was standing on a column about 4 feet high in front and to the left of the pavilion. This is the Elm Street Underpass, Main Street Underpass, and Commerce Street Underpass, where it gets the name Triple Underpass. The center area between the pavilions is Dealey Plaza. The white building coming in view is the Post Office Terminal Annex Building, which faces Houston Street. The steelwork you see in the background is the new county courthouse, and the old building to the left is the old county courthouse. In the foreground is the back of another part of the Dealey Memorial, and we end at the Main and Houston Street intersection. This is the survey of the assassination scene. This is Elm Street, Houston Street, and Main Street. This is where Mr. Zapruder was standing. This is the sign that blocks the view of the president for a few seconds in the Zapruder film. This is the tree that blocks the view of the motorcade from the assassin's window for a few seconds. The windowsill is 61 feet above the sidewalk, about 68 feet above this area where the president was shot in the neck, and 73 feet above this point where the president was shot in the head. The calculated distance from the windowsill to this area where the president was shot in the neck is about 180 feet. And to this point where the president was shot in the head, 265 feet. The car traveled about 85 feet between the two locations and decreased in elevation about 5 feet. The time span was between 4.8 and 5.6 seconds as determined by examination of the Zapruder films. The car was traveling about 11 miles per hour. With the camera facing straight ahead, we turn right off Main Street onto Houston Street and follow the motorcade route. The building in front of you is the Texas School Book Depository. We continue on Houston Street for 1 block and make a sharp turn to the left onto Elm Street. The black object you will see occasionally at the top of the picture is a hat that is being used to shade the camera lens. Shortly after we make the turn, you can see the sign that blocks the view of the president in Zapruder's movie. The entrance to the Texas School Book Depository is straight ahead. As we complete the turn onto Elm Street, we see the Stemmons freeway sign straight ahead. The tree blocks the view of the motorcade from the window in this area for a split second. In a moment, you will be able to see the curb through the underpass on the left that prohibits Main Street traffic from crossing Elm Street to enter the expressways. This curb continues past the entrances. Straight ahead, you can see the entrances to Stemmons and Thornton expressways. The motorcade turned right onto Stemmons Expressway. From the Main and Houston Street intersection, we will keep the camera on the window used by the assassin until after we have passed the location of the president's car at the time he was shot in the head. The assassin used the window on the far right, next to the top, on the same level as the oval-shaped windows. By using photographs taken seconds after the assassination, the position of the windows in the depository have been reconstructed. We lose the window for a second during a sharp turn from Houston Street to Elm Street. In a moment, you can see the tree blocking the view for a split second as we pass under it. The bullet that struck the president in the neck was fired shortly after the tree passes out of view. And the bullet that struck the president in the head was fired between 4.8 and 5.6 seconds later. The car traveled approximately 85 feet between the two shots. The actual assassination movie starts after the presidential car has turned onto Elm Street. In this photograph, the president appears to be waving. In this photograph, about 1 second later, the president is going out of view behind the sign, and there is no apparent reaction to an injury. In this photograph, about 1 second later, as the president comes into view from behind the sign, his reaction to the shot in the neck is apparent as both of his hands come up to his neck. This photograph is the impact of the headshot, which is quite apparent. In the Zapruder movie, as the president's car continues down Elm Street, we can see Agent Hill getting on the back of the car. The president appears to be waving as he disappears behind the sign. His reaction to the neck wound is apparent as he comes back into view. Reaction is also observed in Governor Connolly. The impact of the headshot is quite apparent. You see Agent Hill getting on the back of the car. This is a copy of the Dallas Police Department drawing of the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository. The building is 97 feet by 97 feet and has 36 somewhat evenly spaced columns. Elm Street is at the bottom of the drawing. Houston Street is to the right. The assassination took place from here. These are two service elevators, one facing west and the other east. This is the stairway going up and the stairway going down. The gun was found here in front of the down stairway. The following scene is a panoramic view taken from here, looking in this direction, and continues around to the service elevator here. Notice the condition of the boxes on the 6th floor as we pan around to the left. The assassination took place from the opposite corner of the building from where this scene was filmed. The stairway is behind us, and as you see, it's impossible to see anything in the opposite corner of the building. Oswald's duties as an employee of the depository required him to frequent the 6th floor while filling orders and delivering the filled orders to the 1st floor shipping area. Straight ahead is the main aisle on the north side of the building. It has several aisles that lead off to the right and the front of the building. We continue around until the west elevator is in view. This is the drawing of the 6th floor again. The next scenes will start here and continue down the front of the